Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ZeroGrade Podcast and welcome to our inaugural podcast episode with our honored and seasoned guest, Rajesh Mathur. Rajesh is a delivery coach and consultant. He currently works at Microsoft as a delivery director, and in his role, he has led large-scale, high-impact, multi-million-dollar programs in technology transformation, AI, machine learning, data, cloud migration, and cybersecurity. He has led teams at multi-million-dollar revenue in major companies like Microsoft, Cathay Pacific, Airways, Boots, and many more. He has been living and working in India, US, UK, Hong Kong, and Australia. So, Rajesh, we would say you are a world citizen. Welcome to ZeroGrade, and we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Marian. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. It's really been a while. I've been wanting to invite you to our podcast and to speak with you and to learn from your expertise and wisdom in this field. And I think we can kickstart our episode by speaking about product and innovation, which a lot of us actually rush to at the moment and with the hype of AI in the market. And from your experience in delivery lead, and what are the biggest mistakes companies tend to make when building and launching new products?
Well, companies do. It's a good question, Marian, and companies often make many mistakes, and that's why we say that more than 70% products normally fail within a few years, and about 90% startups fail within 5 years of launching. And that's because most of the time companies focus too much on features and too little on adoption. So they don't really think about customers first, they think about how beautiful it looks. When I look at the bigger companies, teams often get obsessed with shipping fast, but speed is pointless if nobody actually uses what you build. And I've seen it way too many times that focus is on, let's build another feature, good looking feature and best UI, super fast, high performing, but who's going to use it? If you haven't focused on adoption, then it is a failure and it's a big mistake. Second big mistake that I see is building on assumptions. And there is a book called The Write It, written by Alberto Savaya. And it's a beautiful book. It's a really good book for people who are building products and people who are launching new products. So Alberto talks about YODA, that is your own data. What that means is often when companies or teams build products, they build it on assumptions or they build it on somebody else's data, not their own data. So they don't really collect user feedback or the real user feedback, and they just build based on what somebody else has done before. If you're building your product based on someone else's data, there is a problem, because when someone else has collected data, that is in a different context. Your context, your environment, your users, your target users, they are going to be different. So that's another mistake. It's actually shocking how many products are launched without truly validating demand. So people just go ahead and say, yeah, well, if we build it, they will come. It doesn't work like that. People need to have a use for something. And that's what I see in AI as well, that people are just going ahead and building their starters based on maybe this will help people. It's never maybe. It's you need to validate whether someone is going to use it. And finally, not thinking about scalability early enough. Teams go ahead and build features, but they don't think that if something is working for 10 users or 100 users, that might break down at 10,000 or 1 million users. So that thinking ahead is often missing in teams. And these are some of the mistakes. There are hundreds of other mistakes companies and teams make, but these are the key ones that I think that teams make when building and launching products.
I can't agree more, Rajesh, because I've heard from a seasoned professional that all data has been, it depends how you collect your data and
Correct.
And the circumstances that surround the collection of the data. And there is no raw data. It is a big misconception out there that there is it's not raw data. All data has been cooked and it has been processed before it has been fed into the algorithms and the tools that use them and learn from them. And this is one of the big pitfalls and the big misconceptions that is unfortunately being baked into AI that we are building at the moment.
Correct.
It's going to cost us years to rectify this as we progress through the progression of building AI and racing in the hype of the hype cycle of AI. And when we are teaching our data scientists and the data processing people who sit behind the walls building, processing our data and helping us build those systems, they need to be taught to think in a solution approaching mindset and in how they architect the systems, the data actually that the systems learn from. It is a big concept that needs to be taken into consideration when we think about the next generation of products. Plus validation. Validation is absolutely important. We tend to look, you're right, about how things are going to be beautiful or the features, and we like to daydream what things could do for us, but at the end of the day, technology learns from us. And what technology learns from us, it reflects on us too. Thank you so much, Rajan.
Right. Yeah, Marian, you raised an important point there about thinking. It's often what I see. Teams have blinders on. They only looking at things that... there's a lot of confirmation bias in product teams, and that's where the critical thinking plays an important role.
And that would bring us to the topic of like balance of agility. So with long-term thinking and when managing computer product developments, how do you see agility playing a role in balancing our daily tasks and building for the future while while sustaining a go-to-market strategy? The speed to market as well plays a big role in that, because I think it's been fostered in large corporations first. It comes from a background where there is resource and there is funds, and when it comes to smaller players in the market, how do you see the agility plays, and how could they balance it for the best fit for the company itself and the product they're building?
Right, that's a very good question, Marian. Look, agility doesn't mean just speed. In product teams or in project teams, delivery teams, what I see is people think agility means speed. But it's not about moving fast. Although we have propagated this mindset that fail fast and learn lessons and move ahead. Failing fast is important, but it's not always about speed. And agility is more than moving fast. It is about making the right adjustments, changing the course at the right time, learning, taking the feedback, and then making decisions. The key is having a North Star vision, which is one of the most important things, but also being flexible on the path to get there. So it's not going to be the straight path or the path that you decide in the beginning. What happens is oftentimes teams have a roadmap. Project teams sometimes have a project plan, and the leaders think this is exactly how we are going to reach to our North Star. The real life doesn't work like that. I posted something on LinkedIn a while ago. I think it was LinkedIn or Substack, in which I said, people who made plans right before COVID hit, were they still able to stick to their plans? Of course not. What you made right before COVID, that plan wasn't sustainable. That wasn't really applicable because everything came to a standstill. So even though there was a North Star vision, there was a plan, it didn't survive because things change. And that's what agility is, that you learn from the circumstances or how the system is reacting, and you change the path, do the course correction, make the adjustments, and then try to reach there. I always push teams to ask, what are we optimizing for? If it is speed, great. But if we are sacrificing long-term viability, then it is not right. If it is for stability, fine. But are we stagnating? The best teams, they understand that agility and strategy, they aren't opposite. They are partners in execution. So agility should complement the long-term strategy. It is not that we build one product now or one feature now, and another one should come next week, and then another one right after that. So again, back to your question, balancing agility with long-term thinking, that is super important. But again, agility is not just about moving fast. It is about course correction, and long-term thinking is about viability and scalability. Teams need to think about agility, sustaining, and at the same time, what are we optimizing for? What is the long-term vision? How we are going to achieve that?
Absolutely good answer, sir. I mean, learning and pivoting is as good as speed when it comes to correcting action and correcting course when needed. And it often saves us rework, because from my project management background, I've always fostered or kind of like championed the avoid rework when needed. And it's good to rework, but rework while learning from what we've done and adapting our course. And as systems evolve, sometimes they turn into unmanageable mess. And from your experience, how can product leaders prevent their products from becoming bloated or overly complex?
Well, that reminds me of a company that I worked at. And they had this document management system. It was a regulatory agency. And I worked at few regulatory places which were mission driven or mission critical or life critical kind of organizations. So regulation becomes more important. But this particular place, there was this document management system, and because it was a regulated environment, they had to keep the documents for a very long time. And the system, which started very small, they kept on adding feature after feature. So in, let's say, 10 years' time, it was really what you mentioned, a bloated mess. No one knew how to make changes to the system. And when they started with simple document management system and kept on adding more features, no one was thinking what will happen in the next 5 years. And then that became a massive problem when they eventually started thinking about replacing that system. And it took a very long time to make the right decisions. And I can believe that they haven't been able to replace that one. It's the last I spoke to one of the previous team members, and that was like 7-8 years ago. If we can't change the system only because it is so complex and you built a monster there which you can never change, is a major problem for any company. Every extra feature is a potential future liability. So a good rule of thumb, if you're adding something, think about either removing or simplifying another thing. So if I'm adding another feature, is there something that becomes redundant? Maybe we remove that. And it is more of a responsibility of the leaders, not the team members. Because team members are often busy with doing things, and unfortunately, oftentimes they're also not empowered to make decisions or even say that, hey, you're adding this, another thing is becoming redundant, remove it. If the team members have that empowerment, then it becomes much more easier, because they are the doers. They can see things which leaders often cannot. But for leaders, and especially the project managers or the program managers or the product managers, the most important thing to learn is saying no. And they need to have a business case for every addition, and maybe a business case for removing something. So the product leaders should be able to say, no, we don't need to add something because these are the reasons. Or if you want me to add something, what do you suggest we remove? And the third thing is, what is the business case for adding this new feature? How are we optimizing the whole system. Because projects evolve over time, new things come, circumstances change, regulations change, policies change, markets change. So if you keep adding on a system, then definitely it becomes a mess. The best teams that I've worked with treat technical debt like financial debt.
Correct, yeah.
They manage it deliberately instead of pretending that it doesn't exist. It exists. Technical debt is the worst thing for any team and has to be managed. Most teams, unfortunately, they do not manage.
Yeah. And I would also say that managing technical debt on a longer term costs more than pivoting at the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Technical debts are very expensive things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rajesh, for this insight. Let me actually take us back to AI and the critical projects that are happening in the market now. And I know that you are working for some of the largest employers in Australia. And I wanted to ask you, what are some of the most promising and challenging aspects of AI adoption in large organizations?
So you have already answered one part of your question. So when you say, what are the most promising and challenging aspects of AI adoption? Oh yes, adoption is one of the most challenging aspects. The biggest promise is automation at scale. AI is helping us automate a lot of things. So for example, Copilot can do a lot of things for me. I automate things. I say, hey, what is coming? Check my Outlook, check my chats, check my documents that I have received. Tell me what are the next 3 things that I must focus on and make a plan for the whole week. So it is working as an intern for me, making my job easier, and it is automating a lot of things for me as well. For example, I schedule things in Copilot for coming weeks. And I actually ask it, what are the things that I would need to do in the next coming weeks? And what are the things that you can automate? And it does many of these things. AI can eliminate bottlenecks. It does. And it removes those bottlenecks that slow down decision making. And we have seen that things that did not work or decisions that were not made in many years, through AI, we have been able to do that very quickly. Thus, AI is highly promising, and there are many, many things that the AI can do. Now, talking about the challenges, look again at what I said. AI adoption is not a technical problem. What I see working with many teams, many companies through Microsoft, it's not the technical problem. We know what the technology is. Problems are often organizational problems. Often you don't get the buy-in from leadership or even the buy-in from teams, because people at the working level, they don't understand why something is being implemented. It's a change management problem. So leaders, first of all, the buy-in from the leadership. Senior management sometimes don't understand why they should apply something. AI helps with productivity, first of all. I was in an early morning breakfast meeting with some of the leaders organized by one agency. And the questions that some of those leaders were asking were astonishing, because some of them said, I still don't understand what is the use case of AI. And I can give you a list of at least 100 use cases that AI can solve. So if the leadership level people do not understand that AI can do more than drafting an email or creating a presentation or summarizing text, then there is a problem. So first challenge is buy-in from leadership. Actually, they understanding that, hey, AI can benefit or make it easier things for us and bring in some more revenue or reduce costs. Then another challenge that I see is garbage in, garbage out. Data quality matters a lot. Yeah, AI it's a software, right? What you enter, you will get the response from it. So data quality becomes the most important thing. Leaders do not think about what quality of data is there. They say, apply this, implement AI. Now, it's not going to solve the problems if the data quality is not good. And then the third thing that I see, and which keeps popping up in a lot of discussions that I have, is the ethical concerns. So how AI is going to, what kind of guardrails are there, what kind of boundaries? And it is often up to the companies, because every company is different. They can put different kind of boundaries. So ethical concerns and responsible AI questions often And they're often the bigger roadblocks than the technology itself.
Yes, you're right, Roger. In so many ways. I mean, that actually leads me to one of the questions I thought about about the common misconceptions that AI, that tech people actually get about AI, still have about AI. So can you think of what are the most recurring misconceptions that you come across on daily basis?
Correct. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I see two aspects of this. One misconception is AI is going to take jobs.
Yeah.
And I say, yes, it will, if you don't learn. It is exactly the same scenario when we started having PCs and the computers in our lives. And some people definitely they lost their jobs. But then if I look today and compare it from that day when the computers or PCs were launched, our lives are much more better because computers are there.
Yeah.
The medical industry or the healthcare industry, that has grown and is much more easier to save people's lives because we can make decisions based on data and the computers. The same situation now. Hey, something new is coming. It's a new technology. AI is going to take our jobs. Well, AI did take some jobs that time. People who were doing the data entry and typists who used to use typewriters, they don't exist anymore. But that skill of fast typing exists. So that has changed the shape what was earlier there. And I believe that things will change shape or form, and people will evolve, the jobs will evolve. We will do better through AI, not losing jobs. What I suggest people is learn about it. Because if you don't learn, and again, going back to the same analogy, people who did not learn computers, they had more difficulties in finding other roles or finding other jobs, etc. People who learned, it became much more easier for them to find other employment or do even better, because I started learning about computers in early 90s, and that has helped me tremendously. So the same thing applies to AI. Second thing that I see is people treat AI as, I shouldn't use the word magic bullet because that's a cliche now. So I would say magic button, yeah? And the people believe that implement AI and it will improve everything. In reality, AI is, again, as a technology, it is an amplifier. It helps you by making good by improving processes, making them better. And so it amplifies good processes and removes or makes bad processes worse. So it amplifies everything. If it is a good process, it will improve that process. If it is a bad process, it will make it worse. If your data is messy, AI will reflect that messiness. Because you can imagine that, if it is a really crappy data, then the answers are going to be bad as well. So it is basically amplifying that. If a company lacks a clear strategy, AI is not going to fix it. That's what I see, that people believe that we will implement AI and then it is going to fix it. You need to have a good strategy. What I see is too many companies are investing in AI without first solving their the foundational business problems.
Agree, yeah.
And that's the misconception that AI will solve our problems. No, if your organization has foundational issues, then you need to fix those first, then apply AI.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, for that. I mean, we're always on the lookout for a magic bullet, But
always.
There is no magic bullet in life. I would also say that, I have a question actually that just came to mind. Do you think AI is being oversold at the moment for what it can deliver?
AI, I don't think that it has been oversold. AI can still, it depends on the use case, how you are going to use AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it is not a hype. It is here. We use AI in so many ways we don't know about. For example, this phone. Many things are done through AI. And we actually don't know that my phone is using, or our phones are using AI at a massive scale. So
Yeah.
I don't think that there is a hype about AI. It is there. It is in our lives now, and it is becoming pretty normal to have it around us.
Absolutely. It is here. AI is here. Actually, it's not coming. It's not in the future. It is here. And we need to think about the future of AI and human collaboration in terms of decision making. How do you say this? How do you see this playing in the future?
If I talk about the large language models, I've seen that people have started depending on the large language models. We ask questions and it gives an answer. People take it as gospel. And I've seen a few cases where people ask a question, get an answer. They start believing that that's absolutely the right answer because it sounds good. AI is really great at, and especially the generative AI, it is great at producing responses that sound really good. But that's not 100% correct because I'm talking about the answers. Because AI is, as a software, it can generate responses based on a pattern, right? It is going into the data sets and finding the best next word for a question.
Yeah.
So it is good at, or it is great at pattern recognition.
Yes.
What we are talking as humans, and technically if I go into the deeper sense, we are also recognizing the patterns and we are answering based on what we know. So brain is actually doing what AI does, but our human brain is more than just pattern recognition. We are still better at judgment. We are better at ethics. We are better at nuances. So when we are talking to each other, we are actually having some judgment. So I'm judging the question and I'm thinking about what is right. And this is basically the human judgment that AI still can't apply. Again, it is a software. It is not human who has millions of years of existence, and we have learned through that existence. So that when we talk about the AI and human collaboration and decision making, the real winners will be the people who know how to work with AI, who can leverage it. As I said previously, that it is an amplifier, and leverage it to be more efficient, but can also think critically in challenging the outputs. What happens when I ask some questions and AI generates an answer, and I say, I don't think that this is right based on 1, 2, 3 things. Think more. And so I be very specific on asking and also challenging it and asking AI and thinking more critically and using its reasoning capabilities. And then I get, better responses. So people who can actually critically think, people who can apply their own thinking on the answers and challenging those answers, and also thinking or asking, is this correct answer and why it may not be the correct one. They will be the real winners. Future is not about AI replacing humans. We talk about AGI and all of that. It's not going to replace humans. It is going to be the humans who know how to use AI to amplify their own efficiencies.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, for that. I think, it's basically, it kind of like amplifies our thinking process.
Correct. Yeah.
With patterns that it could identify from data, from historical data. And
Correct.
it helps us kind of like, there's no other word better than amplifying, I would say.
True.
It amplifies our decision-making process, but
Correct.
the higher power will always be the human judgment, because we've gained it over the years, and we have a lot of like circumstances that help us in our thought process on daily basis that we will not be able to replicate in systems. And I know that you run a community for delivery leaders, and you have organized multiple conferences. So I wanted to ask you, what are the emerging trends that you could see shaping in teams now, in delivery teams and in the software industry? And lots of questions are out there at the moment in the market. So I wanted to ask your insight.
Right. Look, the trends or the patterns that we are seeing how teams are building and delivering software. Now, again, it's very much AI assisted development. Some of that is actually AI driven or AI via AI. So is AI driven or AI assisted? I see more AI assisted in the larger companies. So we use Copilot, and some people are using other software like ChatGPT, Perplexity AI, and Cloud, etc. So they are changing how software is built. It's very much AI assisted. We do see, on Twitter, X, and LinkedIn, etc., that on social media, that AI is going to replace developers. I don't think that it is going to replace developers. It is definitely going to reduce the demand for some specific type of software or the developers. But AI is definitely going to dramatically speed up work. It will allow teams to focus more on the architecture and problem solving instead of boilerplate coding. So people who know only boilerplate coding, possibly they will be obsolete because AI is doing that job now. And so that's one of the trends that I see, that the AI is helping much more in software development. And second one is people are churning code faster because it is AI. But because AI is helping writing code, teams and product leaders, they have more time thinking about or focusing on business impact than just the output, because AI can deliver feature faster. So people or the development teams, they are getting time, or they are able to focus more on the business impact. So now with generative AI and also getting AI to write code, we can ask, is this feature going to be useful in driving results, or it is just it's a feature with bells and whistles that nobody is going to use. So these two trends are there. One is focusing more on outcomes or business impact, and second is AI assisted development. AI driven development, that is something that is also taking place in smaller organizations, because they feel that it's mostly finance driven, that if we don't have as many developers, it will be more financially viable. But that trend is not there in bigger organizations yet.
Understood. And there is actually a big concept that I know that you talk about and we try to foster in our software development, which is the systems thinking and mental models. And what would be like the one framework or approach that product leaders and innovators should adopt, but somehow or sometimes they often don't? So which one would you say, Rajesh, is the most
All right.
important?
Okay. Yeah. Very good question, Marian. Look, I love systems thinking. I have been a practitioner for a while, and some of the books that you see in the background there, the systems thinking books. And I suggest people that they should learn more about systems thinking, because what I see, a lot of decisions are made based on not based on systems thinking. They are often very narrow thinking. So one of my favorites is second order thinking, like always asking, and then what? Many bad decisions happen because people optimize for immediate short-term benefits without even considering the long-term ripple effects. So, for example, if you launch an aggressive growth campaign without thinking how the support teams or the customer care teams or the tech support teams will handle the influx. You have launched the aggressive growth campaign, and people have started buying your product, but the back-end teams, your customer care team, is unable to handle that pressure. Your product will possibly fail because people are not going to get the support. And with social media, it's much more easier to give feedback, and people learn from that feedback. So that will have an impact on what you're doing and your business as well. So second order thinking, which is asking, and then what? What happens next? And what happens next to that or after that? That is really important. A lot of people don't really think about, so especially the product leaders. They just go, all right, we need to launch this feature, we will do it. But applying the 5 whys and then applying the second order thinking, applying systems looking at every decision from a systems thinking lens, that is absolutely necessary. And that's some of my favorite models. I also like to use Chesterton's fence for thinking. And Chesterton's fence talks about if something is there, before removing, find out why it is there in the first place.
Yeah.
If you just remove, and I've hundreds of examples where I've seen people making decisions, removing features that have huge impact on everything else.
Yeah.
And people didn't really think about them, didn't really think or ask around, hey, why do we have this particular thing here before removing that? So Chesterton's fence, second order thinking, and looking at everything else from a systems thinking lens I find that absolutely important.
Absolutely. I mean, digging to the root cause is always a big thing that we tend to overlook in speed, in the shadow of speed, and in the rush to innovation. But you're right. I mean, digging to the root cause is always the first step that we should consider when
Right.
approaching systems thinking.
Yep.
I mean, there is so much happening in tech and AI, automation, and there's always constant innovation, which is part of our nature as human beings. And I mean, leaders need to, I would say there is a need. And I know that we're doing everything we can to stay calm, to stay focused and effective in face of uncertainty. And this is one thing that comes to every one of us at one point on our mind, and we think about how can we stay calm, how can we stay focused, how we can stay effective. And this is where all the self-help and the grounding techniques, mindfulness comes in, and there have been a lot of efforts in that space. And with Shivili now focusing on mental health and well-being as a product. And I would like to ask you, what is the best advice that you would give to calibers in the field who are dealing with uncertainty and innovation on a daily basis, to take care of their health and well-being while innovating and going after their career goals?
And again, Marian, it's a great question. I know that, when we work in fast-paced industries like tech, there are uncertainties, there are ambiguities, and, there are pressures of delivering faster because the speed to market matters a lot. So being calm isn't the absence of pressure. It is about managing it. It's about ability to manage pressure. I had a boss many years ago, and I was always busy and running around, trying to get things done. And I was talking to her once, and she said, Rajesh, you need to think whether someone is at an operating table. If that is the case, then of course there is pressure. You have to take action. But if not, life will go on. That's okay. So we need to, as leaders, we need to think about what actually matters here. Yes, things will always feel urgent, but taking a step back and asking what actually matters, that helps. So basically, it is about zooming out before making a decision. And again, I wrote on LinkedIn one of the posts about how to stay calm, and that's the gist of it. That that's not a life and death situation. For most of us, we are not flying planes. We are not in law enforcement or in military where we are dealing with criminals or anything, or we are not surgeons. Most of us, we are delivering features. We speed to market matters, but no one is at the operating table who you need to operate. It's not a life and death situation. Zooming out and thinking from that lens, I think that helps. That helps me definitely. That is not, it's not a situation where I have to, stress out or be under pressure. Pressures will be there no matter where you are. Basically, thinking, knowing what actually matters, or asking yourself, and then making a decision based on that.
This is amazing, Rajesh. I was just speaking with a lady recently, and she said that she had a very difficult time in her life, and she had a lot of things that she needed to process. And maybe if she takes time to do that, maybe things would look better and she could go on and do the things that she wanted. And I said, absolutely, that's fine. I mean, we all go through pressure, and there is this time when you will feel the pressure. And I would say the most important thing to do during this time is to ask yourself, how can I be kind to myself
True.
in that situation? I mean, taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture, and considering if someone is on the operating table or not is
Correct.
one of those actions where you are being
Yeah.
kind to yourself and helping yourself find the most appropriate decision to make in the pressure of a moment. And it takes daily practice to do that.
Correct. Yeah, it does.
Yes, absolutely deliberate action. I mean, looking after everyone and ourselves in the loop as well. And after the people we're innovating for, and the people we're working with, and the people we're caring for, and the people who care for us as well. So I would like to thank you so much, Rajesh, for this time and for being our host on Shvili podcast. And it has been an absolute pleasure, and it's an amazing journey speaking with you today. Thank you so much.
Pleasure is all mine, Marian. It was fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that.
It's our honor, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.